Welcome to Cal State LA. Ranked #1 in the nation for the upward mobility of its students. Emilio, I want you to document this because I want to make sure that we have evidence that this is a larger crowd than Trump's inauguration.
Now you're talking. Now you're talking. Hey.
What do you think, Emilio? You got that?
You got it.
Okay, good. He says we have a huge crowd here today, for James M. Rosser. Let's give James M. Rosser a hand. Well, thank you for coming today to this special celebration in honor of President Emeritus James M. Rosser, a scientist, educator, and philanthropist who transformed Cal State LA and helped shape the city of Los Angeles into a model for diversity and inclusiveness. Now, I know I'm going to miss a lot of folks here, but I've seen so many good friends of Cal State LA here this afternoon that are good friends of President Rosser and the university that I just want to recognize a few of you. And there's so many of you across like 5 generations, Diablos and Golden Eagles and Oysters and all kinds of, other mascots. I want to recognize the leader of Telacu, who's here today, Dr. David Lizarraga. Thank you, David. I know that you've been a longtime supporter of Cal State LA and the university. Mr. Andrew Russell, who's here today, the president and CEO of PBS SoCal. Cal State LA alum and president of Grifols Biologicals, Willie Zuniga, who's here today. Nat Travis, who's also an alum and a former professor and former mayor of Santa Monica. You got a hell of a drive home. Got a driver?
Yes.
Oh, you're smart. Dr. Richard Rush, actually you have an even longer drive home, who is the President Emeritus of CSU Channel Islands. Thank you for coming. The president of my alma mater, Dr. Soraya Coley, president of Cal Poly Pomona, is here. A legend in the CSU, former CSU Board of Trustee Chair, president of CSU Dominguez Hills, and executive vice chancellor of the CSU, Dr. Herb Carter is here. Another CSU legend, Cal State LA emeritus professor and former CSU trustee, Dr. Harold Goldwhite is here. Former CSU trustee, Ralph Pesquera is here. Former CSU executive vice chancellor, Dr. Ben Quillian is here. Dr. Barbara Young is here, who with President Rosser helped create the CSU African American Initiative. We have several faculty leaders, many faculty leaders, but I want to recognize a few. Dr. Veena Prabhu, chair of the Cal State LA Faculty Senate, or Academic Senate, I mean. And Dr. John Clement, president of the Cal State LA Emeriti Association, is here. And I saw our good friend Tom Sales, the Executive Vice President at USC, is here as well. Thank you, Tom, for coming. And then several colleagues that were on President Rosser's cabinet. I don't know some of you because I haven't been here this long, but I do know that there are a few here that I served with. I want to just recognize them. Dr. Tony Ross is here. Kyle Button is here. Peter Kwan is here. My former boss, George Pardon, is here. Where's George? And the former dean of the College of Natural and Social Sciences, Jim Henderson, is here, who is now the vice chancellor of the University of Wisconsin system. So today we're going to hear from four distinguished speakers. We're going to hear from the dean of the College of Natural and Social Sciences, Pamela Scott Johnson, CSU Chancellor Emeritus Barry Munitz, Cal State LA President William A. Covino, and finally our guest of honor, and the reason we are all gathered here today, Cal State LA President Emeritus James M. Rosser. Let's go. There. Following our speakers, you'll witness the unveiling of our newly named hall, and then you're all invited to enjoy a reception here in the patio area. So, let's get started. Dean Pamela Scott Johnson is one of our newest stars here at Cal State LA, and her college is home to this beautiful facility. So it's my honor to welcome her to share a few words with us.
Thank you so much and good afternoon. I am deeply honored to share this celebration for President Emeritus James M. Rosser. I arrived at Cal State LA long after Dr. Rosser's retirement and never had the pleasure of working with him directly as many of you have. However, since my arrival, I've gotten to know President Rosser through the great legacy and the work that has been done on this campus. For this wonderful science complex, to our long history of graduating students of color who go on to earn PhD in STEM fields, President Rosser's commitment to excellence and diversity and his love for science is clear. As a leader in higher education, President Rosser's influence extended beyond Cal State LA. And in fact, when I was a student in Georgia at Spelman, I read the work of Dr. Lloyd Ferguson, who we actually had a conversation about recently, who made important contributions to science as a faculty member, but during President Rosser's tenure. As a student, I in fact was one of the first cohort of students to participate in the Minority Access to Research Careers program, a program that came to Cal State LA during President Rosser's tenure and through his support. As the dean, I am now part of a tradition of excellence, and I'm pleased to know that President Covino shares this vision of excellence and inclusion and is carrying it forward. This building, which will bear the name of President James Rosser, affords the College of Natural and Social Sciences the opportunity to foster the intellectual growth of students and to fulfill our mission as an institution. I look forward to many more years of inclusive excellence, and I thank you, President Rosser, for your years of service, contributions to the university, and to the sciences. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dean Scott Johnson. Our next speaker is Chancellor Emeritus Munitz. He is certainly no stranger to Cal State LA. This beautiful state-of-the-art sciences complex was built with funding that he and President Rosser delivered. Please welcome Chancellor Barry Munitz.
Thank you. Greetings, everybody. I guess on all of our behalfs, since Passover begins at sundown and Easter begins this weekend, to all of you between those bookends, happy holiday and happy, healthy holiday. Jim and I were just debating if there was anyone in the audience who's known him longer than I have. We have been together for 6 decades. As friends, as colleagues, as partners. What's interesting about it is, part of that time I worked for him, part of that time he worked for me, except he would never acknowledge the part of the time where he worked for me. Right. And as Jim and Herb and Tom and other people here know, every time he had to introduce me, he suddenly had this stutter in his. He'd say, "I'd like to introduce the chancellor who's my friend." Right. So now I get to reverse the tables once more. We were able to put the last piece of funding together for this building because Wallace Annenberg and the Annenberg family recognized, for all of their commitment to USC and to the University of Pennsylvania, that Jim's commitment to opportunity, to mobility, to providing the engine of socioeconomic advancement for the state of California deserves some special recognition, and they broke precedent in order to put the last financial piece of this building in place. The award that Jose mentioned earlier, being the #1 campus now in the country for socioeconomic mobility, reinforces what Jim's commitment was, and all of you here today stand in honor of that extraordinary accomplishment. So Jim, boss, on behalf of the former chancellors who are not here and the former board members who are here, congratulations, love, and thank you.
I'm the lucky guy that has taken orders from all 3 of these guys up here. Pamela, you need anything? Thank you, Barry. Since his investiture in 2013, President William A. Covino has continued a tradition of excellence at Cal State LA that has enabled our university to provide a transformative educational experience for our students. He has built on the foundation established by President Rosser and lifted Cal State LA to greater heights. Please welcome my boss, President Covino.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. What a great day. It's so wonderful to see you all here, to welcome folks back for this tremendous celebration. I'm so delighted that so many of you have made the time and made the great effort in many cases to join us here as we honor President Emeritus James Rosser. Just having you all here, I think, speaks volumes about President Rosser, his lasting impact on Cal State LA, on the community, on each of you, and the transformational consequences of that impact. This is the 70th anniversary year of Cal State LA, and it is fitting that we honor President Rosser during this anniversary year because for nearly half of the university's existence, he's been up there on the 8th floor. He's been president of Cal State LA. I mean, what a tremendous legacy of dedication to this university. No one has sat at the helm of this university for longer. Not me, certainly. And Jim started when he was 12, actually. That's one of the reasons he stayed so long. No one has transformed this university like Jim Rosser has. And now he's, he can sort of be a parent who can sit back and marvel that the teenager he raised is now a highly accomplished adult, making a name in the world, achieving great things. And one of those great things we've mentioned a couple of times here, earlier this year, Cal State LA made headlines as a nationwide longitudinal study ranked our university #1 for upward mobility. No other university in the nation does a better job of transforming low-income students into high-income earners. But a close look at this study revealed to me one undeniable truth. Researchers reviewed data on Cal State LA students and their families over the years. And those students who became such great successes and created our #1 ranking studied and graduated when Jim was president. So I've been trying to figure out a way to claim credit for this. Nothing's come up yet. It is quite fitting and really tremendous that we can add this achievement. There is no better achievement for any university with a mission like ours than to be #1 in the nation for having a transformative impact on students' lives. And Jim Rosser was president during all of that time and leading the charge. This is just part of the story, right? The legacy extends into every area you can think of. Our minority opportunities in research programs, which produce more PhDs in the STEM fields than any other university in the nation. Our Honors College, the Hertzberg Davis Forensic Science Center, the Charter College of Education. They and so many other achievements are only here because of Jim Rosser's stalwart support and guidance. For 34 years, he poured his life into this university. And he continues to be a strong supporter of Cal State LA, a strong supporter of the CSU. He remains and sustains this university as one of our most loyal and generous donors. And he represents the ethic of giving back and the ethic of sustaining the public good, which is so central to the mission of Cal State LA. So please help me in welcoming President James M. Rosser, who's going to join me here for a special presentation. Jim. That's a nice picture.
I was 15.
Proclamation, James M. Rosser, PhD, presented in recognition of his 34 years of leadership, service, and vision as an educator, scientist, philanthropist, and champion of diversity with excellence on the dedication of James M. Rosser Hall. All right. Thank you very much. I'm just going to say another couple of things about you. You stay here. You're next. No, you're next. You're next.
Now. Here, let me hold that.
I'm going to give this to somebody who's known me longer than Mary.
Oh, I get it.
My
All
sister.
Right. So,
I'll tell you about that.
buildings on our campus carry the names of individuals who've done great things. Right? The John F. Kennedy Library, Martin Luther King Jr. Hall, Reuben F. Salazar Hall. The building that we name today, James M. Rosser Hall, is a permanent hallmark to President Rosser's innumerable contributions. The great leaders of the future will study in this hall. Great discoveries will be made in this hall. And President Rosser's legacy will continue for generations to come. I am proud to present James M. Rosser Hall.
Wow. Well, good evening. First, let me thank President Covino for his generosity and the gracious manner in which he has made today possible. You know, without his support and the support of the Cal State Los Angeles campus community, the Board of Trustees would have never been able to make a decision about the renaming of this facility. So I want to thank Bill and all of the members of the Cal State LA family for making this the day that it is. You have no idea how important this is to me and my family, including and I will explain to you how she's my sister. I grew up in a single family household in East St. Louis, Illinois, and we were very poor. Marjorie Orr Preston now, her dad and mom adopted me and my single parent mom, and without their support over all those years from before I was 10 years of age, I wouldn't be standing before you today, and I wouldn't have probably accomplished as much as I did, because they embedded in me, along with my mom, the values that enable me to perhaps be able to be in a position to say that Dr. Muniz was my senior associate and not my boss. And not with impunity, but with respect. And that was a lesson that I learned early on, that if you don't have confidence in yourself, it'll be very difficult for you to make a difference in the lives of people. I started out as a scientist because of Marjorie's dad's influence. He was an attorney who had to work as a Pullman porter in order to support his family because of the nature of America at that time. And he thought there would be greater opportunities for me if I majored in the science field and maybe would go on to medical school. At the end of the day, as it turns out, I chose neither, even though I did become a scientist, and I practiced as a scientist for about 10 years of my professional life. And part of the reason why I came to Cal State Los Angeles was because of the quality of the faculty at this institution, with a particular emphasis and interest in science, mathematics, engineering, and technology. As a matter of fact, if he's here, the person who picked me up at the airport when I landed in Los Angeles was Harold Goldwhite, who was a professor of chemistry at Cal State Los Angeles. There's a young lady who is sitting in the audience who was the affirmative action officer and was a member of the search committee along with Harold Goldwhite at that time, Sharon Diallo Sandoval, for example. But it's because of people like that and what they told me about this institution that this became a place that I felt that I could maybe help to make a difference at. I didn't realize that I'd spent over half of my adult life at this institution, but if I had to do it all over again, and I turned down, as Barry knows, some interesting positions to remain here, I remained here because the people here really did believe in what the mission of the institution said. And even though the neighborhood that we were located in was beginning to change, our commitment didn't change relative to excellence with diversity. quality with commitment and support. I remember Barry Muniz once asked me, what would it take for you to take more students at Cal State LA? I said additional dollar support. Because if there isn't a given dollar amount of support behind every student here, then we can't provide them with the education that enables them to go beyond Cal State Los Angeles and to have a level playing field relative to their pursuits career-wise beyond Cal State LA. The recent recognition of this institution, which I am certain will be carried on under the tutelage and leadership of President Covino, was made very easy for me because of people like Carlos Gutierrez, Lloyd Ferguson, Harold Goldwhite, Joe Casanova, Anthony Andreoli, and I could go on and on and on in that regard. And we also were a university that believed that for scientists, engineers, and technologists to be conversant with their human responsibilities were, there ought to be a strong arts and humanities program as well at this institution. So we tried to do as much for the arts and the humanities, not only on this campus, but in this region. And Stu Gatto was here, and without Stu, there'd be no arts high school. And because there's an arts high school, you know, there's also a Luckman Fine Arts Complex on this campus. So there's something to celebrate here that's embedded in this community and is a part of the infrastructure now. I promised David Lizarraga and a very strong Hispanic community when I arrived here that it doesn't really matter what a student looks like when that student enters Cal State Los Angeles. What's far more important is what that student's able to do when that student leaves here. If we let you in, we have an obligation to get you out of here and to have tried to level the playing field so that if you want to go to Harvard or to Caltech, you can. And there are people in the audience here who were students when I first arrived, who went on to those institutions and achieved levels of success that enabled them to come back here as faculty members. And there's another person who just walked in that needs no introduction, I'm sure, because without her in the California legislature, I'm sure that my life would have been very, very difficult here. And that is Diane Watson. I'm going to ask my sister. I'm the youngest of 8, but there's no brother who probably has had a sister who's been more of a sister than this woman has been to me throughout my entire life. She's here with her daughter today, and without her parents and without her continuing involvement in my life and my support, I'm not sure that I would be here. So Marjorie or Preston, would you please stand? She was there when I got out of elementary school. She was there when I got out of junior high school. She was there, we went to the same high school. She went off to Indiana University. I went off to a historically black college, Langston University in Oklahoma, transferred back to SIU. Every position I've ever had, she or her family have helped me at some point along the way. I became president here, she was at the inauguration. I retired here, she was at the retirement dinner. I'm here today, and she's here again with me with her daughter, Elise. So Marjorie, for you and your family, thank you very much. I want to especially thank the faculty of this institution. A great many of you who are here today were here when I got here, and I was very, very lucky, because I doubt that there's a finer faculty to have been able to inherit at any university in the country at that time. And since then, we've tried to maintain that level and standard of quality. Why? Because the greatest asset that any university has is its faculty and its students. And when you have a faculty that's the quality of the faculty at Cal State Los Angeles, who believes that every student, when provided with the proper nurturing, a solid environment, state-of-the-art equipment, they can succeed at a level that is unbelievable. We've been able to demonstrate that. That certainly will be sustained at this institution. I'm proud of the fact that I will be affiliated, and my family and our name will be affiliated with this tremendous institution of social mobility for an extended period of time. I will continue to be, and I encourage each and every one of you to consider becoming a major supporter of this institution, if you're not already. Not only with resources in the way of support, but as a friend of this institution. Because our students really need friends. People who will help them open doors. People who will remind them to maintain their grounding in the communities from which they're from, and to never forget that wherever it is that they might be at this point in their lives, they're there on the shoulders of people like you who stand in this audience. And for those of you who were custodians, clerical support personnel, non-faculty librarians, counselors, other professionals, we did it. I didn't do it. You had to believe in something, and you had to have a level of integrity that enabled you to keep the pressure on those of us who were in leadership positions to never let you down. I hope that in the 34 years that I was the president at this institution, that I never let you down. I hope I never did anything to embarrass you, the institution, or our commitment to our students and to the communities that we serve. Cal State Los Angeles since 1970 had more women students than any other university in America. In 1972, it had more women and students of color than any other university in America. So there's no other university in modern America that stands as we stand as a bastion for what this nation continues to strive to be. And with a quality faculty and a supportive and encouraging administration, and with a great dean who's going to be sitting in a building that I hope every day she comes to work, she remembers that I'm going to be watching. And that I'm also going to be coming with support whenever she needs it, or whenever our students need it. I want to thank each and every one of you for having made my 34 years at this institution among the best that I've ever enjoyed in my life. Some of you who are here today were here when I got here. Frank DeSantis, Maxine and Diane and Gwen Moore and Richard Olatorre, Lou Elrod, Costello Brown, Lloyd Ferguson, and I see a friend who's here from Loyola. We've spread ourselves thin. I have a good friend here who left LA, gave up his U.S. citizenship to become the president of the newest national university, the Republic of China in Taiwan, Paul Mu, President Mu. For Jim Henderson and Jenny Faust to come back from Wisconsin means a great deal to me. For Dick Rush to drive in this traffic, from where he has to come from to get here in Ventura County, it doesn't get any better than that. For Soraya Cooley, becoming now more mature as the president of Cal Poly Pomona, we always had friends, whether they were trustees or presidents or otherwise. And Ralph, I want to thank you and Ms. Pesqueta because, you were always here at our commencements. And I've never forgotten that. And you were here the whole day, and thank God Cal Poly Pomona was on the same schedule at that time, so you could go to their commencement in the evening. So we saved them some money and some driving. And what have you, as the case may be. But there are people like that throughout here. Monty Subramanian, the math department's chair for a period of time during my time here. John Clemon, Demetrius Margaziotis, Dorothy King, Mike Roth, Joe Shadowski. And of course, Rosie McNutt, who for 26 years was executive assistant to the president. And we left behind, we hope, someone that is still valued by President Covino and Ana Caudillo. And Barry Muniz and I like to think that we had a lot to do with Jose being here. even though he went to Cal Poly Pomona. So we won't hold that against him. But he was a student body president at Cal Poly Pomona. You know, and Louise Bryson, who's been a good friend and supporter. John Bryson, who was the chairman and CEO of the Edison Company. But Louise encouraged me to get involved in public television. And I hope, Louise, that this president sees the light and restores the funding for public radio and for public television in this nation. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, what can I say? You know, when I was growing up, as Herb Carter and Tom Bradley, and by the way, I should mention another trustee who, if it weren't for him, even taking on the current governor, you know, I'm probably the only president in history of the nation who was not favored by a president when he became president, and the governor lobbied the trustees to not hire me as a president, and then when I retire, he's the governor again. So I don't know what to say about that. And I also work for every chancellor that the CSU has ever had. So what that says to you guys is that I couldn't find another job. And I see Virgil Roberts is here, and I want to thank him and his friends and associates because they also helped me to learn and understand what it means to be a civic citizen in a highly diverse society. So Virgil, thank you and Mrs. Roberts for being here today and for your support over the years as well. Well, I'm going to stop so that we can enjoy the rest of the day and so you can commingle. I also would like to say, as I move away from the microphone here today, that the best years of my life were here. I never considered working here a job. It was a part of my life. I never a day that I got up didn't want to come to work because I enjoyed being a part of helping to create a new society for tomorrow. I know that's going to continue under the leadership of Bill and his administrative team. I wish them the very best, and I will continue to be a supporter of Cal State Los Angeles. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Rosser. Before we move on to the reception, I just want to thank a couple of people. I want you all to give a big hand to our facilities and UAS staff for setting up this beautiful venue and for laying out a wonderful spread that we're going to have here at our reception. I also want to thank our talented faculty and students from the Department of Music, Theater, and Dance who helped make this production a success. Our music faculty, particularly James Ford, who brought together our jazz quintet right over there. Give them a big hand. They're going to be playing for us a little later. And our theater faculty member, Daniel Sipinski, and his students who constructed our curtain. That was all done by our students. And I'm going to recognize them each here. Alonzo Bocanegra, Guadalupe Reyes, Diana Herrera, Leonel Nunez, Jasmine Joannes, Rafael Medina, and that's it, Rafael Medina. Thank you all. Give them a big hand. And please join us for the reception. And also, one other thing, please take some time to view the plaque honoring President Rosser inside of James M. Rosser Hall, which is right here in the entrance to the building. Thank you.